In this video, we're going to hear from a Tesla engineer about what it's like to actually work for that awesome company. A day in a life, what the tasks are, what the duties may be, what the attitude and perspectives are on the floor of the engineering teams, his comparison of Tesla versus working at Airbus, so big fast-moving tech versus corporate. We're going to talk about how he's applied to over 2,000 roles and what it's like to be determined and persevere to get your dream job like working at Tesla. So let's just get started right now. Hey 1% Nation, I'm Jake Voorhees, and you are watching the 1% Engineer Show, where we empower young engineers to rise to the top 1% of their career. So if that is you, make sure you hit the notification bell and subscribe. We're doing a lot of 1% Engineer star features where you can be in a video. So if you want to have your expertise filter out into the world so that you can make an impact, comment below. Send me an email. Who is your employer dream job? Is it NASA? Is it Tesla? Is it SpaceX? Is it... Comment below. If you want the 1% Engineer Kit, access to the Discord server, and lots of other great resources, make sure you look in the description. I can't wait to show you this interview with Sudhanshu Parikh, who's our subject matter expert. And also, this conversation is facilitated by a 1% Engineer core team member, Serena Yambe, who also graduated from Drexel in Philadelphia with Sud. Sud has a mechanical engineering degree from Drexel with a focus in business, and he talks a little bit about that before getting roles at Airbus and Tesla. And so now he can talk about his experience there. Sud and Serena are both active on Instagram and LinkedIn, so make sure you connect with them there. So let's jump right into this interview with Sud and Serena, guys. Thanks. That being said, I want to kick it over to Serena to frame up this interview. Serena, thank you so much for being a part of this. How are you today?
Welcome, Jake. Thank you for that great introduction. I'm doing great, actually. So right now, I want to thank Sug for taking the time to appear on my 1% Engineer feature video. So basically, we're going to talk, I want Sug to talk about his background in engineering, what he's up to right now, how he ended up landing an internship at one of the big tech companies like Tesla. Give us any tips for audience out there who's also dreaming of working for companies like Tesla. And also just, tell us what he plans for the future. So why don't you start by telling us who you are, your education, and also your work experience.
So, hey guys, I'm Sudhanshu, and I went to Drexel and graduated this year with business and mechanical engineering. And my background was primarily into automotive and aerospace industry, where I worked for about a year at Airbus in the United Kingdom, and then worked at Tesla Motors in Palo Alto, California, and specially responsible for Model 3 powertrain development, for quality engineering and new vehicle programs, for launching the vehicle in Asia Pacific and China and Europe. And currently, I recently left Tesla and are working on the new high-performance luxury electric vehicle company called Lucid Motors, and I'll be doing a new product development for their Lucid Air vehicle, which will be launched on September 9th, 2020.
That sounds really exciting. So why don't you tell us, how was your application process to land that first internship at Tesla?
When I was working at Airbus in the UK as my first internship, it was an year-long placement. That's what UK universities do for the engineering. Instead of having 3 months internship or 6 months internship, the people do a sandwich program for about a year. So I was the first US student working at Airbus there and was working on multiple complex problem-solving projects for their wing structures for all the commercial aircrafts. And during that time, I solved an engineering project of A320, and it saved about 8 million euros per annum. It brought a production savings of 8 million euros per annum by saving 2.5 hours of production optimization time. And that project caught Tesla's interest. And then I spoke to a couple of recruiters there, and then later on presented my findings. And one of the big things that happened in my case was that the engineering questions that were asked were most towards my thinking pattern and how I connect the dots and what logic is all about to me, instead of knowing every specific thing. Because at Tesla, people work with state-of-the-art technologies, which is not even out right now. So most of the people are not even aware about how to work with that much level of technical competence outside the industry as well. So for them, the logic and the approach is much more important than and your intent to contribute instead of having the right technical aptitude at a very first day. So that's how I perceived my pathway, gave multiple interviews, and started my first internship over there as a quality engineering intern, and was responsible for Mall 3 powertrain quality. So, and in different teams, like in different companies, when you work for, even for every specific engineering team, it is subdivided into different components. So quality engineering is supposedly should be divided into incoming quality, line side quality, field quality, and reliability engineering team. But at Tesla, one engineer works for all. So you are responsible for incoming, line side, field, reliability programs, and even the data science as well. So it's a very wholesome role because you are constantly challenged on every single scenario, and then you have to figure out how to support and mitigate the cause of the problem that's occurring, and which is letting the production shut down. And during that time, I worked on multiple projects, very specifically improving Model 3 reliability program by launching ISO 16232. It's a specific standard which comes off for, since electric vehicles are very, very, very fragile systems if you look out for, and any constant particle can, any metallic, non-metallic, any constant particle can actually dysfunction the whole system, and the reliability can be impacted. So I got an experience of wide bandwidth of experience by working on different projects there. And then people were happy with the kind of work that I was doing. So they extended and bumped me up as a TPM intern. And then I was responsible for launching Model 3 powertrain and doing the line validations and setting up the whole production for the 220 volt battery architecture for the Europe and Asia Pacific and China markets. So that's what specifically I did for about a year by working about 90 hours a week, every single week. Yeah.
Wow, I am stunned. So you talk about your technical experience going from Airbus to Tesla, the projects you were involved with, and also, like what is it really like to work, as a Tesla engineer. So something that I'm also curious about. So what is actually the culture and the diversity at Tesla? Not really the technical side, but how the employees interact with each other, your supervisors, etc.
So the culture is very vibrant and the culture is very grooming. That's what I've noticed, and that's one of the first eye-catching things which come off after working at Tesla. So most of the people that you look out for are primarily very young workforce, very enthusiastic, very ambitious workforce who is willing to contribute and push the transition towards sustainable energy. On the other parameter, I've seen that most of the people are incredibly patient and they respect your learning curve as well, because you might be interacting with people who have done their BSMS PhD in 6 years from MIT and who have like 23 patents on their name, and you are just there finishing your bachelor's. So from them and their thought process and having the patience for the other individual to not to get carried away by having the experience and not to get intimidated by their own colleagues was something that is very unique in that organization. And on the other hand, that I've noticed was that everyone tries to push other people incredibly hard so that they do not stagnate. Everyone cares about each other's growth a lot, which is not seen in a lot of other companies as well. Because for me as a human, I didn't even grow technically, but emotionally, psychologically as well. Because at Airbus, I was working about 35 hours a week, and the amount of work would have done at Airbus in 6 years, I have done the same amount of work at Tesla in about a year. So you can see the learning curve, how much skills that you can actually get by investing your time into the organization with the people that you surround yourself with. So it's an amazing experience. It's a very challenging experience as well. For some people, it is very intimidating at first, but once you set in and you understand what you look out for, what's the sense of purpose, why you coming there every single morning is to push the transition towards sustainable energy and to make this world a greener place. You get that inner sense of accomplishment that you are solving some problem, very critical engineering problem, and it's just the inner gratification which kicks in and which keeps you going. So that's what happened with me. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And I can tell that you had an awesome experience and you definitely learned a lot. Jake, do you have any other questions that you like to ask Seth?
Yeah, I was gonna. I'm glad you mentioned something because I was gonna ask it, but potentially waited. So, Sud, because you just mentioned what you did, thank you so much for that. I see 4 different types of categories of engineering for professionals, and you've seen 2. So, really quickly, here's the big 4. So, typical small engineering firm. That's not where your examples have been. Government engineering firm. That's not where your engineering, examples have been. You have a startup or a technological accelerant, okay? Like Tesla is one of those. And then you have big mega corporate that moves really slow and really complacent, which is Airbus. So really you have 2 polar opposites. You talk about 90 hours a week at Tesla, 35 at Airbus. Both of them look illustrious on the resume. Both of them pay decently, but you learn so much more in a startup environment, and there's pros and cons along the way. Besides the things that you mentioned already, Sud, what are the things that you would point out about advantages? I think there's more advantages of going at a fast-paced situation like Tesla. Maybe you could speak on that a little bit more. Like, were you bored at Airbus looking back? Like, I'd love to hear you expand on this.
Okay, so one of the biggest advantages as a young enthusiastic engineer is to intend to contribute, is the intent to learn. So what, like my mentor always told me that the biggest difference between an engineer and an associate engineer, which literally classifies in terms of a startup environment, is that an engineer should not be told where to work and what to work for. He finds the work and he finds the way to improve. Rest, the associate people, they have in the big, large firm organizations, they have a 9 to 5 standard opportunities and charts where they have to work and improve on. So that was one of the biggest you can say takeaways that happened with me at Tesla. Although I started my career at a very initial stage, I always was given an opportunity to identify the areas of improvement. And very specifically, if you look at the culture and the statistics of Tesla, the market capitalization is maximum in terms of the automotive sector. And it actually combines the 3 other big major automakers on the globe. So on one side, it is turning out to be the leader in EV ecosystem in terms of automotive industry. And on the other hand, when you look out towards the inside, it still has the startup heat where things are exceptionally quick. Things change very rapidly, the plans change very rapidly, and people work under a lot of pressure for the output. So having the blend of both of those culture was something that was really inspiring on my end. And when I look back at Airbus, I think that it's the best place to work for the people who love the calmness and who love, you can say, who have a specific set of structure to do different things. But for me, I'm a very creative engineer and I love to contribute to find different situations and scenarios. And that's why that was one of the biggest moves that I took to move out of the UK and move back to the US. Because after graduation, I also had the option to go back to the UK and start working for Airbus. But I chose not to because right now, at this specific age of my career, I'm more focused towards pushing incredibly hard and driving different solutions that will actually impact the lives of other people around me.
Very cool, very cool. Thank you for that.
So, well, you talk about, you had the opportunity to go back to the UK, and I know from experience you're an international student. So did you ever feel like, being international student was a setback in, when you were looking for opportunities, or even when you were applying for other internships or anything at all? And do you have any advice for an international applicant audience out there who's also probably struggling right now, considering the time, you're in the COVID-19 situation and it's probably, super difficult to be able to land a job.
So one of the things that I'm going to tell you, and it's hard truth, that guys, it's not easy. That is the bitter and the most fundamental truth that should be remembered. And it is not easy, just not for you, but for everyone else. It does not depend on nationality unless you are targeting the firms which requires the security clearance or have the compliance with ITAR requirements. So if you're not targeting any defense industries, especially for international students, I don't think so that there is, like, you can say, a stigma around the engineering community that yes, it is a bit tough for international students to find the role. Yes, I received about 2,000 rejections. I'm not going to lie, from my first co-op, like for my first internships. So I saw jobs in Drexel. I'm a Drexel grad, and in the co-op program, we have a lot of jobs that has been listed through the systems, and nothing practically interested me. And I was always driven towards, hey, that I have to work in automotive or aerospace industry, and I have to work towards production optimization. So one of the big things, yes, it is very fundamental and very interesting to know what you are looking out for. But even if you don't know that, it is not big of a deal, because right now for you, the big thing is to get the taste of different worlds, which is really interesting, because that is something that you should not be fearful of. And there is no specific role that will not bring you any experience. So the company name should not matter a lot. But what I'm trying to say to is, it's not a cliche or something, and the people talk about it a lot, that firstly you should educate yourself to target your energy towards something which will not inhibit your options to not to try for something that is not going to bring you any output. So supposedly, if you're applying for 2,000 roles, which requires the ITAR requirements, being an international student, you're practically just wasting your time, because even though you do not have a government clearance already set up. So having that kind of mindset, be like, okay, I have to focus towards the roles which will not only hone my skills, but I'll have a huge learning curve to learn different skills as well. So that is very important, and do not be fearful of rejection. That is one of the biggest thing, that like in the midst of COVID-19, I graduated in March, and I had about, Serena, I talked to you about it, right, as well, like personally, that I had about like 8 to 9 roles lined up in different companies, from Apple to Tesla and to different other companies, which I cannot speak right now in the names of, because they're startups. But what happened was the funding was cutting off and the roles were getting delayed. But even having a little bit of experience in the automotive industry, the things were not easy for me. So if it is easy for you, I wish you all the luck. But what I'm trying to say to you is that never be fearful of rejection. That is one of the first thing that my mentor told me, that the one rejection pains as much as 500 will pain in the future. And please do not quit. Like, if you have a dream to apply to Tesla, learn more about what electric vehicles are, learn more about the basic fundamentals of electrical engineering, because it is very important to understand and learn what different skills are required in the industry as well. So these are the two things that I'm going to say. Like, even landing at an internship at Airbus, I received about 2,000 rejections. So
can we take a quick 60 seconds, Sud, and talk about this? So I graduated from undergraduate. I'm 33, okay? So I graduated with my 4-year in 2009. The bottom of the housing bubble, okay? And so everybody went to grad school as an emergency. They delayed the job hunting market. And I applied to about 100 jobs. And I kept it in a spreadsheet. And I've told people this number. And I've been proud of this number. And people were like, oh, wow, you're so determined. You worked so hard to get that job. But never ever have I ever heard of someone applying to 2,000 roles, especially being someone like you and applying to 2,000 roles. So before you got success. So can we talk about this a little bit? It's a mindset question, determination, perseverance, like believing that you're going to get it no matter how many rejections you get. So can you walk us through, like, how did you not become self-defeated during 2,000 rejections? Let's talk about that.
So one of the big things with me as an individual, if you know me, I don't give up. Like, that's what is something that is very, very integral quality on me. So,
bro, I can tell. 2,000?
Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah.
like, do you know? So if you send for every hour of your workday, if you work 40 hours a week for a whole year, and each hour of your workday for an entire year, that's how many for every hour of a year. That's 2,000 applications. That's how many applications Sud sent. So keep going. But I just want people to understand how ridiculous this is. Keep going, Sud.
Yeah, I did the same. I maintained an Excel spreadsheet, and some of the moments I was like, I applied to 20 roles and received 50 rejections today. Should I apply more? or not? And then I was like, I used to have this self-doubt in my head every single time when you receive rejection, that you're not enough, you're not enough, you're not enough, good enough. So when these kind of scenarios happen in front of you, one of the biggest books that I didn't read it during that time. I was not that much like academically oriented in terms of my self upbringing or something. But yeah, the big thing is all about is to look out for the small accomplishments that you have ever done in your life, and just constantly remind yourself of that hey, although yeah, you're receiving a rejection right now, but that does not define who you are. So me coming to United States and coming on a full ride scholarship is one of the big deal for me, because this institution have shown trust in me by investing $500,000 in my education for 5 years. So it's like, okay, if I can, being not after starting my graduate education, just through my high school and some of my mechanic pursuits, if I can convince an organization to trust me and invest $500,000, what's stopping me to convince a hiring manager that I have the will and perseverance to contribute to his team? So that was the one of the biggest thing that actually led me, and that literally stopped the fire in me to not to stop applying. And that's what happened with me during Tesla as well. So I was in the UK, and my manager was in California in PST. And when he started, so during that time I was about like 250 pounds or something, and in the UK I was running, and during my interview time he was unable to come, and he didn't attend my interview, and I was like, okay, he's not coming. And then I went out on a run, and then I was running, and I see a California number calling me in the UK, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take this. I took the call, and he was like, hey sir, I was a bit late, how's it going? And I was like, hey, I'm sorry, we have to reschedule it because I'm on the run. So he asked me, how many kilometers have you ever run, like in terms of, because he knew I was on the other side of the clock. It's like, I'm at 3. So he's like, okay, you're gonna run 7. I'm just going out as well, so we're just gonna have our interview on a 4-kilometer run. And having the experience in the unexpected of the situations, just because I didn't give up, actually helped me quite a bunch in my life, even through this recession time as well. It's like, it was during this pandemic, most of the engineering firms were literally doing their hiring cuts and freezing their roles, and it was very, very tough for a lot of graduates as well to make out and find a decent job, and especially for international students who have a time constraint to find a job within 90 days, I guess. It was very tough. So for me, it was tough on certain levels as well, because I was living in the midst of insecurity, and successfully, yeah, I signed up a new role and will be working over there. Like, I've started working over there, and the new car will be coming out pretty soon. So yeah, I'm excited for that. But yeah, the moral of the story, the big picture is all about is, whenever the self-doubt comes in, you just, as an engineer, just find out the facts, just go for the data, just find the facts. And once you have the facts, just crush that thought. Hey, I'm good enough. If I can convince this, if I can do this, I can do this as well.
Well, thank you for that. And I can definitely add to your experience that, never giving up is, the way to go. Obviously, as an international student myself, I experienced a lot of rejections, but I learned from them. And as sometimes I'm still learning from them and other people. And also never forget this, you have different mentors, mentees, and people that can help you. So yeah, your advice is definitely valuable. Well, as a last question, so you're going to start your full-time role at Lucid Motors, right? And so I want to know, you've been in the US for 5 years at least. What have you learned during these past 5 years? What do you think you have done differently, and how do you welcome the next 5 years?
So yeah, one of the first 5 years was like, I was very patient towards my growth. I'm not at all patient right now these days. I'm like, I'm after working in that kind of environment, I'm always about pushing. So I need to breathe. That I breathe a lot earlier. So that was one of the big things. Like, United States is one of the best countries in the globe by the specific amount of opportunities that you have, and you have the sense of expression, and you can practically do whatever you want. That was one of the big things that literally pulled my interest when I was in India and pursuing engineering. It's like, no, one of the biggest things. That's why I spent, and last 5 years, yes, I committed a lot of mistakes, like always, like everyone, and had a bit of fun, and I love traveling. So I'm trying my best to see the most of the United States. And the next 5 years will be more about like constantly pushing towards my passion, towards contributing and building better products, which will improve and ease the life of the people around me, and support the transition towards sustainable energy, because that's one of the key ideas and key engineering principle that's very close to my heart, and that's what I'll be doing with Lucid Motors as well. So for the next 5 years, hopefully we'll be able to deliver multiple cars. So right now, in the first, for like, if I give you a small timeline for the first a couple of years, we'll be working on, if you know, like if you have seen that even in the luxury EV industry, in the luxury segment in the vehicles, there is no specific electric vehicles which are available. Like if you want to buy, if you have 100K in your pocket, you're gonna buy a Mercedes S-Class, or because if you need comfort, you need ride quality, you need the best of the experience. That's why I thought about this after working on the middle class car of America, Model 3, by working and successfully delivering the $35,000 car. It was very imperative to me to challenge myself and work on what EV luxury can be. So that's my plan, to work for a couple of years on the EVs, luxury EVs, and then later on, let's hope for the best and build out better projects and products which will improve the life of people around me. And hopefully you guys will like the cars after driving them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I will. I'll be the first person to buy it. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't have any more questions. Jake, do you?
I do actually. So, so it's an interesting thing, especially based on how you just responded to the last question. I know your Tesla days are over, which I do believe makes this question and this explanation a little more seamless, safe, and you potentially have the ability to be more comprehensive within your comfort levels. But one of the things that engineers, in 112 episodes of the show, we have to do our best to understand what young engineers search for online to create content for them. And one of the things that they want to know is, what is it like to be an engineer? What is a day in the life of an engineer at a company like Tesla? So if you could look back, how long were you there, Sud? What was the total?
About a year and a month.
Yeah, so 13 months is a good amount of time to be able to understand in a snapshot like what it's kind of like to just be an engineer there. So if without violating any of their policies, keep yourself safe. But with all that being said, what is it like to have a day in a life of an experience of a Tesla engineer? I'd love to hear about that.
I consider Tesla engineers are problem solvers and innovators who have a deep drive to push the aspiration towards sustainable energy. And that comes down as one of the very fundamental qualities to break down an engineering problem into simple, specific scenarios or simple bite-sized pieces. And the tool that actually helps all of us is having the first principle thinking. So Elon talks a lot about it, and it is very, very apt and very applicable in every scenario. So as a part of first principle thinking, what we do is we undermine and do not take any specific premises that's already been there in the society and which are very pre-assumable facts. Rather, we question and jot down every single possible scenario until unless we reach the deep dive and do the deep dive of the problem and understand, okay, by not having any specific perspective towards a situation. So having the first principle thinking, and another thing that a lot of other engineers do is the blocking mechanism. So blocking mechanism is very simple and very effective tool to get the work done as quickly as possible. And that's how I used to do as well. So I used to be in the office about 6 a.m. and used to stay until 10 p.m. some days or something. But used to come in, used to meditate, and used to plan out my day, and used to divide it into the blocks. So during those blocks, my task but primarily driven towards doing those specific actions. And what it used to do is they used to drive the results very quickly and efficiently because my mind was focused towards solving a specific problem. It can be a bite-sized problem. It can be solving a specific data set or something of that sort. It can be anything. But my focus was driven towards one specific thing, which actually helped me quite a bit in order to finish some of the tasks way ahead of the timeline. So having a first principle theory, first principle thinking is not only applicable and very, I can say, useful in your engineering career, but even in the personal career as well, as a professional or as a person for the personal growth, by not having any expectations or any specific foundations towards any thought, by not pre-assuming things in life. So pre-assumption in engineering can be very disastrous at certain moments. So that is something, and we pre-assume a lot. And how do we pre-assume? Through our experiences, right? So it is a very thin line to segregate your past experiences. No matter how kick-ass engineer you are, you have to start from scratch in that problem by underlining the thoughts and doing the remanufacturing, or you can say the backward engineering of that, or the downside engineering, or whatever the term that you want to use it for. So yeah, these are the two specific skills that you would see in every Tesla engineer for sure. Who survived any? So yeah, at least yeah. So
that's key, because it doesn't matter what you think and what you know and what you believe in if you didn't survive. If you didn't make it, it doesn't matter.
Well, thank you, Seth. This was a great interview. I had a lot of fun. I was a little nervous, but it ended up being a great conversation. And I think our audience definitely learned a lot from, your comments, your advice, and hopefully, it's gonna be the light of someone who's struggling right now. Jake, if you have anything else to add.
Let's hit Sud with quick 2 little lightning round questions. So Sud, in 3.5 years and 112 episodes with 2.5 million views, the most anxiety-inducing question that we have for young engineers is that they don't know how to possibly choose the right major. So I'm going to challenge you to 2 sentences here, under 30 seconds. How did you know that the specific undergraduate major that you chose was the right one for you?
By making my hands dirty. There's no easy solution. One of the first things is that you're young, you're extremely full of energy. Just make a deep dive, and especially when you start a college as an undeclared major. I did not do so. I knew that I want to pursue mechanical engineering because I was working as a mechanic for 2 years and worked as a French baker because I was confused that should I pursue mechanical engineering or should I pursue culinary science as my major? So one came out as a passion and one came out as a hobby. So that actually helped me. But one of the big things is that if you're pursuing education anywhere across the globe, is to get your hands dirty, man. Just go in the field. And even if you're very undeclared in terms of your major, there's no one who will stop you to go to electrical and computer engineering department. There's nobody who's going to stop you to go to mechanical engineering department, to civil, architectural, environmental, automation, controls, quality, systems, data science, whatever you want to do. It's something that has to come through you. Nobody is going to pick up your hand and going to take you to different labs in order to identify your passion. So this is something that needs to become through you, and nobody's stopping you to enter those labs either way. So by making your hands dirty and going into the field and seeing what is there to offer and whether it clicks in or not. In certain scenarios, it happens that, it happened for me as well. I was driven towards pure mechanical engineering, and at later stage of my Tesla career, I realized that I really enjoy doing engineering, program management, and new product development. And not to do new product development, I need to understand the other aspects of business as well, like accounting, supply chain, production optimization, operations management, econ, finance. So that's why I came back to Drexel and added business and technology innovation management as my major and minor as well. Because so as you spend more time into the field, don't get scared about what the outcome will be. It's all about one day at a time, one step at a time. Go slowly, keep your hands dirty. If you enjoy it, it's good. If it doesn't work out, it brought an experience. So yeah.
Love the I love the hands dirty analogy. And one final thing, thank you for that, Sud. So I'm gonna deepen this challenge because you failed the last challenge. You gave us too much value, bro. You gave us too much extra info. So really quickly, if you just final question, seriously, think about it like bullet points. One of the we have 2 videos in the community that is engineering student life, engineering student tips. Okay, people want to know how to be a better student engineer, how to have a better engineering student life. So if you had 2, 3 quick, see it as like a bulleted outline, the things that got you through your illustrious career at Drexel. If you had 2, 3 quick little tips for engineers out there at the university level, what would they be? And then we'll leave you with that for Serena to wrap it up. Thank you so much. But take it away for the grand finale, Sud.
So the first point is don't be a flock in a sheep. And second will be question. Whatever the courses that you're planning to take, understand what happens is, like, as a sample plan of study, you see the courses. Okay, what do? You just add the class. You do not even read the course description. Most of the majority, like me, until I was senior, I didn't used to read the course description. I was like, okay, I have to take fluids. I've never questioned, why do I have to take fluids? Why? Can I take another engineering class that actually interests me? So most of the people are not ready to do the groundwork. So doing that groundwork and questioning will actually help a lot. I'm not saying that every single time you'll make a right decision, but it'll give you an opportunity to start questioning and understanding what matters to you as an engineer. So that's one of the key things. And the second tip I'm going to say is all about enjoy the journey. Like, being an engineering student is something, it's a very, very incredible journey. And most of the people think about that it's very pressurized. I don't think so. I traveled 41 countries by doing two degrees, and in the midst of 5 years, and worked for 2.5 years because I love traveling. So I prioritized my schedule, and and still graduated and still doing decent in my life. So that is something that I'm going to tell you.
Hey, who are you, bro? Where do you come from?
I'm telling you.
Calling this,
it's
Serena.
To breathe.
Serena was like, I have a really interesting special friend to be in this interview.
It's something, it's to breathe and just question. That is something. These are the 2 things I'm going to say. Rest, you just enjoy your engineering career. This life will never come back again.
Love that. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. So take it away, Serena, for our little wrap up.
Sad. Again, we had so much fun doing this interview. I think Jake had the most fun.
I truly loved your energy as well. It was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you again. I think,
Absolutely.
all your advice, your takeaways will definitely help our audience, international students, people who are applying to jobs right now, and even current, students. So definitely, I hope, this is gonna be an insight for a lot of people, even for myself. I learned a lot too as well. So I hope this was a great experience for you, and thanks again for
it was a pleasure learning from you guys as well. Yeah, hope you have a killer Friday evening, guys.
Hey, 1% Nation, Jake here. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Sud and Serena. If you did, then you're probably a 1% engineer and you want to rise to the top of your career. So smash that like button so we can help more engineers, and make sure you subscribe so that you can join this tribe, you can join this community, and we can help you get to where you're headed. Leave a comment below with your questions. Make sure you join us in the Discord server, guys, and we'll see you again in another video. Bye-bye.